What up, what up? Winbush here, and today I'm excited to show you guys this superhero effect. Now, this effect became popular with the movie Captain Marvel. You see the energy outline around the character, kind of giving it like a forceful effect. And so you could do this actually completely free with a couple of plugins. Well, actually, you could go about it a few ways. For the rotoscoping, I mean, it's typical rotoscoping, but I'm going to use Mocha, which is a free version in After Effects, and then there's also Mocha Pro, which you could pay for. And as always, type in Winbush in the keyword and you get 15% off. It's well worth it. But then for the energy effect, we're going to actually use the video copilot plugin called Saber. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to start off. This is my final composition from when I was making it, but we're going to start fresh. So I actually got this. You can see it says Adobe stock right here, and that's because I'm using stock footage from the Adobe site. And you can actually download HD footage from Adobe if you want to preview it. Of course, it's going to be watermarked, but if you wanted to follow along with the same exact file here, this is the one that I'm using. I just typed in keyword superhero and scrolled all the way down until I came to that. And so now what our first step is going to be is we want to create an outline around our superhero here so that we can apply our effect to it. So you could go about this several ways. Of course, you could do the traditional way of just doing your typical rotoscope with the pen tool. You can also use the auto roto tool within After Effects, which I'd never had real good luck with. But then you could also use this plugin by Mocha. So if I come over to my effects and presets over here and just type in Mocha, we have the Mocha AE that comes in After Effects, but what I'm going to use is the Mocha Pro. And the reason that I'm going to use Mocha Pro is because it has this nice tool here where you can actually use like a magnet to outline your character, and it works really well. So what I'm going to do, well, I'm already in classic mode, so I'm good here. So I'm just going to start by coming over here to my magnet tool, and then I'm going to click here on the edge, and then I'm just going to drag. Like, I let go of my left mouse button here, and I'm actually just dragging, and you can see it's actually following along pretty well with the outline. Then I'm going to click here to make a frame or a key or a point, sorry. Then I'm just going to keep dragging, and you want to try to do this with as least amount of points as possible. And as you can see, Mocha is really picking up the outline of our character, and it doesn't have to be exact for this effect. So I'm going to click here and just keep outlining. And I'm not going to do the cape. I want the energy effect around her. So I'm going to go all the way down here. And then I'm going to cap this off like so. And boom, you can see it gives us a bunch of points in here. If you like actually click on one of these blue tassels here and pull on it, it's going to round out the edges a little bit more on there. But it looks like we have a pretty good outline of our character here. Like I said, for this tutorial, it doesn't have to be exact. We just have to have it be good. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me go back to Essentials. For my view, I'm going to do fit the frame, like so. And then down here in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to click on T for track. And then you can actually see it's using the GPU to track our roto here. So I'm going to give this a few moments, and then I'm going to kickstart the video back up. It's going to take maybe a minute or two. This is about a 30-second clip, so I'll be right back. All right, and so now my roto is done here in Mocha. And if you notice, like, I like to bounce around between all these different options here. If you look here where it says Essential, you can go to Classic mode, and this is what you know of the old Mocha. Let me hit fit this screen. It gives us our timeline and everything here. When you first start, it's going to start in Essentials. This is just a newer way of working in Mocha, but I bounce between the two often. And so to get back to it, our roto is done. It looks like it kept a pretty good roto here. If you can see, it just falls off in a few places, but it's not bad. And we're just going to have an energy effect going around here. And so for what we're going for, I mean, it's perfectly fine. So I'm going to come up to here to save and hit save project. And now I'm just going to exit out of Mocha. And what's cool with this now is under our matte for this is Mocha 2019, the latest one. You can actually just hit create AE mask and it'll make a mask for our roto here. So I hit that, you just give it a few moments to work its magic, and there we go, we have our roto. So if I click on my footage layer down here in my timeline and hit M on my keyboard, you'll see that we have all of our keyframes for our mask here. So I'm just going to turn off, I'm going to go to my mask and I'm going to click none. And I'm going to turn that off because I actually want to put this onto an adjustment layer. So I'm going to right click, come to new, come down to adjustment layer, and I'm just going to name this one Saber because this is what we're going to put our plugin onto. So I know you heard me mention at the beginning of the video, I'm using this free plugin by Video Copilot called Saber. So just go to videocopilot.net, type in Saber, and you'll come up with this. You can download it for Mac and PC, but it's a cool little plugin here. I guess Andrew Kramer made it when he was working on one of the Star Wars films or afterwards, something of that nature. But it's pretty cool because once we put our Saber plugin on our adjustment layer, it gives us this lightsaber look here. And there's a ton of presets that we can actually roll through into here, which we're going to do. But first, I want to come back down to my layer, my video layer, and I'm going to hit Control C on my keyboard to copy my mask, then hit Control V on my adjustment layer. Now if I hit M, I see I have my mask on my adjustment layer. And the reason I did that was because under, where is it at? You can actually use your mask as your outline. Oh, there we go. So it's under custom core. Under core type, instead of Saber, we want to use layer mask. So now we actually have our Saber effect outlining our character. And so to get the effect that I wanted, let's start with energy. There we go. And I mean, the preset looks pretty good there. If I scroll through this. And so I'm going to come down to my mode. So I'm going to click back on my adjustment layer, go to mode, and I'm going to click add. And that's going to give us this outline around our character that has the energy effect. So I could turn down my intensity as well. And this all goes upon the type of shot that you have. Like she's shot against this orange sight here. And so our effect is going to look different than if she was shot outside or against the green screen and we composite something behind her, blah, blah, blah. And so if I scroll through this, we have a nice energy effect going around our character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my Saber, hit Control D to duplicate it, and then under energy, let's try nebula. So now we get this cool nebula effect. Maybe I want to go for like a bluish color. There we go. Turn down the intensity by a lot, down to maybe like 6. You can spread your glow a little bit. And so all these attributes over here, like any other plugin, you kind of just want to play around with it until you get something that you're happy with. And I can actually Control D again. Let's try another preset, maybe fractal, see what that looks like. So that's pretty cool there. Probably have to turn on my intensity on that. Alright, so now that we have all of our different effects on here, we want to add a little bit of turbulence to make it look like this energy is emitting heat around her. So what we could do is, since this Saber layer right here already has our mask applied to it, I'm just going to hit Control D to duplicate that, and then I'm going to rename this Turbulence. Then I'm going to delete my Saber plugin here. And if you come over to effects and presets, I already have it typed in here, but you just want to use the turbulence that you're most familiar with, or you can use the one that comes with After Effects, which is this turbulent displacement. So if I bring this in here, you can see it's making our whole comp go crazy. So I'm just going to bring down the transparency on here a little bit. Let's say down to about 10. Then I'm just going to play around. Actually, I can turn off these other layers so I can see exactly what the turbulence is doing to my character. So if I turn this up so we can see the effect, you can see it's distorting our character a little bit. So I just want to make a little bit of turbulence in here, just so whenever I scroll through, and actually under our evolution, we'll want to keyframe it to make it move. So I went to the first frame, dropped the keyframe, come over, let's say maybe like 2. So now when I scroll through, you can see our turbulence is affecting and warping our character. So we could bring the amount up a little bit. You just play around with these until you find something that you're happy with. And I'm going to turn it down here in my opacity anyway. So I just want it to have a little bit of a warping effect. So 10's about good. We're going to have this energy all around her, so it's all going to kind of blend in. So if I turn back on my energy, and now when I'm scrolling through, it's just a real subtle detail, but it looks like the energy is actually emitting a little bit of heat around the character there. So it just depends on how much you want. Like I said, turn it up, turn it down. Oops. So we have that there. So now our final step is, and if you want to add some type of like glow to our eye, like usually how superheroes do whenever they're emitting energy, we can actually just track this with the tracker in After Effects. So if I click on my footage layer here, come over to track, what is it, track motion, there we go. And so now this comes up with a new window, and you'll see track point here. So I'm going to drag my track point up to the pupil of her eye. So I'm going to drag this right into her eye here. That should be a good track point. And I know in this footage she closed her eyes at some point, so we just want to be on, watch for that, because then we'll have to manually move it until she opens her eye back up. So I have a track point right here in the center of her eye, as you can see. And so I'm gonna come back over here on my right hand side, click the analyze forward, and let this play out. And like I said, at one point she does close her eyes. So keep, there she goes, she closed her eyes. And then I'm stopping it right there, because when she opens her eyes back up, that's where I want to put my track point back into. So I'm gonna click that right there and resume it. Let me stop it again because it's starting to lose its track. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit and find where it, yeah, so it jumped right there. So I'm gonna move it back to the center of her pupil, and then I'm gonna click play again. And there we go. We're seeing that it's starting to track pretty well. And I don't think she blinks throughout the rest of the video, so it should track pretty well throughout the rest of it. And I'm not really too concerned about the part where she actually blinked her eye, because when she blinks her eye, we can actually bring the glow effect around her eye down and then bring it back up when she opens her eye. So the track there isn't going to really matter. So we don't need to do the full 30 seconds. Let's just do 14. I'm going to trim my comp layer. So I hit N on my keyboard to bring my timeline into 14. Then I right click and hit trim key. So if I follow through my track, it's tracking her pupil pretty decent until she closes it. So I want to put this information on a null point now. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to click on my null object. And I could just name this one I. And then for over here in my tracker, I want to hit edit target. And where my motion target is, I'm going to click on my eye null that I just made, click OK. And now when I click apply, it's going to come up with this option for if you want to do just the X, the Y, or if you want to track the X and the Y, or you want to put that information on your null. So I'm going to do X and Y, hit OK. Now if I click on my null and hit U, we actually see all of our positional tracking data is now on this null point. which means we can put absolutely anything that we want into the scene now and actually track it to the eye. So I'm going to start another, let's do a solid. So I'm going to do a black solid. I'm going to name this one flare, and I'll use the flare that comes with After Effects for this example. So I have this lens flare here, and under my mode here, I'm just going to screen it so it's over top of my footage. I'm going to move my flare to where her eye is, and then bring the brightness down a tiny bit, actually a lot. Let me turn off my nose so I can see. So we just want to add a little glow to her eye here. Okay, so now if I could do this one of two ways. I could actually pick whip my solid to my null and have it go that way, or if I want it to be a little bit more precise, I could actually where it says flare center here, I can actually track that to the null as well. So I want to start by going to my null, my eye here, and hitting P on the keyboard for position to bring up my keyframes. Now I'm gonna click back on my flare, and right here where the stopwatch is, I'm gonna hold Alt on my keyboard and left click on there, and that's gonna bring up this expression window. So what I could do from here, and let me drag this up a little bit so we can actually see. So I have this pick whip here, and what I could do is drag this down to my positional data, let go, and it's going to ask me if I want to do all position, just the X, Y, or Z. I'm just going to click off for all positions, and now let me drag this back down and scrub through my timeline, because now we can see, now we see that the lens flare is tracking to her eye, and right there is where she closes her eye. So what I want to do here is click on my flare brightness, scroll through a little bit to where her eye closes. I'm gonna start my flare. I'm gonna keyframe it right there, and right here I'm gonna put it on. Oops, so I did the wrong keyframe, sorry about that. All right, so here I'm gonna do flare brightness, bring it over to where she closes her eye, about there, hit 0, and now scroll through a little bit to where she starts to open her eye again. All right, so I'm gonna keyframe it right about there. So I'm gonna actually just copy and paste that keyframe there, or if I wanted to, I could have hit that diamond and that adds the keyframe right there. Then I'm gonna scroll over a tad bit more to our eyes opened and put this back to 45. Turn this back on, and there we go. So we have our flare on her eye, and it's tracking 100% to her eye. So that's basically how you get that superhero energy look. Now from here is just doing, you know, a bunch of posts over top of it. So if I add an adjustment layer, you know, you can always add curves to the whole thing. Bring my curves level down a little bit, kind of make everything pop a little bit more. Then add a hue, knock back the saturation a little bit. We don't want to oversaturate it, like so. And then make another adjustment layer, because I always like to add a vignette to these. Instead of one that comes with After Effects is CC vignette. So I'm gonna crank it up so that I can see where my vignette edges are. And then I'm gonna change my angle of view. Okay, I just want it on the edges here, like so. Then I'm gonna bring my amount back down. So I just wanted a vignette around the edges there. So hit Control S, and there we go. So that's how you get the Captain Marvel superhero energy effect on your character. And as always, since this is using the stock footage with the watermark on it, I'm going to put it up on my Gumroad so you guys can kind of break it down. I'll use the one from my funnel here, because I have a couple more things in here. Like I have both eyes tracked. I'm actually using Red Giant looks to get that overall look over top of it, but this is the way to do it if you don't have any third-party plugins. And so I'll put this up on my Gumroad so you guys can download that for free, play around with the settings a little bit. And if you like to use Mocha Pro, like I used the example, make sure you go to the link below and click on it and type in keyword Winbush. You'll get 15% off of these tools here. You can use it on Sandfire, Continuum, and of course the Mocha rotoscoping and tracking tools. Once again, I want to thank you guys for watching my tutorial. Please subscribe and tell everybody about what I'm doing here. If you're having any issues, always leave me a comment below. I respond back to everybody. And, leave a like. It helps me out a lot. Or use my affiliate links below, especially if you like my hat here. It's on Amazon, and those proceeds go back to me and helping me produce the content on the channel. So until next time, keep creating. Thank you guys again. I'll see you next time.